Hey guys, HelpingHans here bringing you my tier list for the Ostheer commanders in Company of Heroes 2. Let's get into it. So guys, here we have our tier list from S all the way down to D. Our first commander is going to be Jagarama. Where do we think Jagarama ranks here? I personally am going to give it an S rank, because I think it's one of the best team game commanders in the game. So here with Jagarama, we have access to the spotting scopes of 5 CPs. If you combine this with a 222, you get an incredible amount of vision on the map for both yourself and your teammates, and it's a great unit to combine with the elephant to help spot for the elephant and shoot enemy armor. Also, reconnaissance overflight is great. You know, if your teammates got off-map artillery, you drop the recon run, and then they can follow through with off-map artillery. Breakthrough equipment with the pioneers have satchel charge, which is a nice little thing to have as well. And panzer grenades have smoke grenades to make them good, maybe assaulting positions. And then you've also got the mobile observation post as well. And allowed to put our Regal 80 mines for the 251. Very good commander all round. Definitely for team games, not for 1v1. Definitely don't use this commander for 1v1. Next up, we have Fortified Armor. Now, where are we going to pop this? I think we're going to pop it in A tier. Why are we going to do that? So, I think Fortified Armor is a pretty good, once again, team game commander. Again, you have the late game Elephant, which is a really good tank destroyer. The hull done has been improved recently as well. So, yep, that's definitely props for that commander there with that ability. You've got the reconnaissance overflight, and you have the Panzer IV command tank, which is generally a really good anti-infantry vehicle, and it provides a lot of buffs to nearby units. So, all around, pretty decent commander. I would definitely give this. The reason why I give this an A rank compared to the last commander is because I just think spotting scopes are just too good. They're such a massive advantage you gain from having spotting scopes, whereas this commander doesn't have it. So that's why I still prefer Jaeger Armor over Fortified Armor. But there you go, that is Fortified Armor. Okay, next up we have the Assault Support Doctrine. I'm probably going to pop this in the A rank. It was close between S and A. I do think it's a very good commander. So here you have the early game artillery field officer, which is great in coordination with the rest of your units, and then later on if you've got a Panzerwerfer, you can and other artillery, you could just use that to get extra barrages going down. The cargo truck is a great thing that you could put down on fuel and munitions points, which allows you to get more resources out of those points. You couldn't do that normally with just you can't cache those points, but with the cargo truck you can get extra resources there. Strafing run, not too great there. I'm kind of letting that commander down there. I mean, it's not a great off-map ability. It does get some suppression, I guess it's okay. The frag bombs are super good though. Fragmentation bombs are one of my favourite abilities for Ostheer. They absolutely decimate infantry and will do a lot of damage to light armor as well, so definitely big props for fragmentation bombs. And also later on the Tiger tank. Yeah, Tiger is a great vehicle in both 1v1 all the way up to 4v4. And so yeah, I'd give it an A rank rather than an S rank, because I think the strafing run kind of lets it down a bit there out of the abilities you've got to choose from. Okay, next up we have Festung Support. Where am I going to pop this? B tier. Why B tier? So I think Festung Support is a B tier commander because, I mean, yeah, the commander tank, the mortar half track is pretty good as well, but late game it suffers. You've only really got the sector artillery, and then once you plop it down onto a sector and an enemy comes in, they'll see it. It's activated, they just pull away and they won't take much damage for it. So I'm not a massive fan of sector artillery, it's not very good. Relief infantry as well, you only get like 1 Strooping now or whatever, maybe 1 or 2 Strooping come onto the field, they're not too great. The forward supply station was added to this commander recently, which is pretty good ability to be fair. You can get the repair bunkers and you can get extra, 6 repair dudes on ambient buildings, but it's not super great, it's not the best thing in the world. So yeah, I think it's kind of an average commander, medium tier, doesn't really bring anything great late game for you to rely on. Okay, next up we have Monocle Man, which is Jaeger Infantry. Where am I going to pop this lad? A tier. Why do I say A tier? So, this commander, ambush training. One of the best abilities for Ostheer, I definitely think. And it comes at 1 CP, so you can get this nice and early. It's very, very good to have ambush training on. You can cloak your machine guns or most of your infantry as well, so it's a really good way to surprise your opponents there. The Jaeger Light Infantry upgrade, getting the G43s equipped on some of your squads to increase the damage, so they're better at like firing on the move. The Jaeger Command Squad is a great 5-man squad with some nice utility there. Can Panzerfaust, lob a rifle grenade, and you can put a flare in the sky to give yourself vision. The lighter troop barrage, not so good, kind of letting this commander down a bit, and that's why it's not an S tier. It's easy to dodge ability, it doesn't do too much damage, so you're not going to you can't rely on this to take down a mortar pit or anything like that. I guess it's good maybe to displace some units. The Stuka close air support is very good because it's good at targeting the enemy vehicles in late games, so that will definitely help you out against armor when you're attacking, or you could use it as a defensive ability. So yeah, really good commander overall. Just really the light artillery barrage letting that commander down, so that's why it's not an S tier. Okay, next up we have Festung Armor. Where do I rank this? I'm gonna maybe controversially, pop this in B tier. So I decided to put this in B tier because it is generally all late game abilities here. It doesn't bring anything for you in early game. You got access to the Panzer for Ostheer, Panzer Tactician at 2 CPs, then you get hull down. Pack 43, yeah, it can be good, but one off-map artillery strike kills it, and then you've got the railway artillery. That's a good ability. And that could get a nice potential lot of wipes, help maybe clear Sim City. But yeah, it doesn't really offer you anything early game, and so I would definitely not recommend this commander at all generally, unless you know you save it. You know, you don't pick this command until really late in the game, and then you maybe be able to benefit from it. And maybe when you realise your opponents haven't got any off-map artillery, then it might look like you want to choose this commander because then you can get away with using a pack 43. But yeah, not super fan of this commander. Generally, you know, only late game, but you know, you really want something in the early game to help you out here, and this commander just doesn't give you that. So that is why I give it a B tier class. Next up is Joint Operations. Where am I going to pop you? Again, I'm going to pop you in B tier. I've decided to put Joint Operations Doctrine in B tier because two of the abilities, the LEFH and the Pack 43, come super late, and again, as they're static emplacements, they can easily be countered by off-map artillery, like an L2 bombing strike right over them, and it's completely gone. The Artillery Officer early game is kind of a nice thing. Reconnaissance Overflight is also a nice ability, and the repair stations as well will definitely be good in team games, but again, this is not a 1v1 commander, and yeah, you know, in a big team game, it's very likely your opponents are going to have off-map artillery to take out your emplacements. So yeah, I probably would hardly ever pick this commander. If I have it on my loadout, I'd only pick it once I realise my opponents haven't got any off-map artillery capabilities, but that's going to be very rare. So that's why I give Joint Operations Doctrine B tier. Alright, next we have the infamous Lightning War Doctrine. Now, Lightning War was very popular back in the day. It still is quite popular. It used to be like meta for 1v1 and even team games. Personally, it's a toss-up between S and A tier, but for me personally, I'm going to give it an A tier ranking. So Lightning War, good early game, give your infantry upgrade with the G43s, with the Jaeger Infantry package. The tactical movement is a nice ability, which you can activate to get up and flank your opponents quickly. The relief infantry can access there as well to get free or Strooping pretty much. Super close air support, great ability to again assist you in either as a defensive or offensive ability to help you against enemy armor. And then the late game Tiger Tank, so you've got a big heavy to rely on maybe late game. So yeah, generally all round good commander. I don't give it an S rank because it's just, I feel like it needs a bit something else for me personally. I don't really see this as something that jumps out at me. Maybe if it had, like, you know, you replaced relief infantry with maybe like the power drop of the MG and a pack gun, I'd probably give it an S tier. But apart from that, nah, it's definitely A tier for sure. Next up, we have the Spearhead Commander. Where am I going to pop you? I'm going to once again pop you in A tier. So Spearhead is a very good commander. I think the Mortar Half Trick is great, you know, against maybe placed in units, lots of support up in play, SimCity, because you've got the Incendiary Barrage there. The Panzer Tactician, honestly, that's one of the best abilities for Ostheer, to be able to pop smoke in all your vehicles so they can get away from potentially getting finished off by anti-tank guns or what have you. Reconnaissance Overflight, you know, again, always good to have that on a commander because you can give yourself vision that way. Frag Bombs, again, as I said before, really good ability, so I love that. And again, late game Tiger Tank as well, so it's got a bit of everything. It's not S tier because it doesn't really give you much infantry bonuses there at all. Nothing to upgrade your infantry there, but it is a very good commander, definitely A rank. Alright, next up we have our next S tier commander, which is the Storm Doctrine. So you can see here, Storm Doctrine's on my loadout at the moment. Amazing commander. Once again, ambush training, as I said before, such a great ability to smoke bombs as well. An amazing, again, defensive or offensive ability to blind enemy units or conceal your attack as you try and push through. The Air Command Squad, again, as I pointed out, a great infantry. So you've got, you know, great abilities here to buff your infantry. Late game, you've got access to the LEFH, which is, again, I'm not a massive fan of the LEFH because it can get killed by off-map artillery. So you could kind of take it or leave. You don't have to build the LEFH, but you've got it available here. The reason why I bumped this up to S tier is because you've also got the Stuka Bombing Strike. And again, this is great for all game modes, as the Stuka Bomb Strike can really demolish your opponent if they're not paying attention. If they're distracted somewhere and you drop it on their retreat point, like a major retreat point, you can get a lot of infantry kills, as what happened in a previous game that I had. So yeah, Stuka Bombing Strike, one really good ability. So that is why this commander is S tier. Alright, next we have the Blitzkrieg Doctrine, Where am I going to pop you? For me personally, I would classify this as a B tier commander. Here he is over here. So again, it's a B tier because it doesn't really offer too much early game for your infantry. You just get tactical movement there. So it's a pretty decent ability, I guess, for infantry. But apart from that, there's nothing really else. It comes at 4-piece CP, so it's quite late. Panzer IV Command Tank is a good tank, and Panzer Edition is also nice as well. Reconnaissance overflight, nice. Super close air support as well is pretty good to take down aircraft. But yeah, again, it doesn't really offer anything good against infantry early game. And then late game, you know, it's quite, the super close air support comes quite late. And that's all we really have for late game that it offers. You haven't got no Tigers, you've got no decent late game abilities. This is an okay commander, and it's kind of good for, I guess, all kind of game modes, I guess. But there's a lot better commanders to choose from, for sure, than the Blitzkrieg Doctrine, I think. So next up we have German Infantry. Where am I going to pop you? If it was last patch, I'd probably put it S tier. However, as it was nerfed, I am now putting it in A tier. German Infantry provided tons of buffs to your infantry early game. You had the 251. German Infantry used to be great, but then they nerfed the 5-man G43 upgrade for veteran squad leaders, so it wasn't as lethal as it was beforehand. But it's still pretty good. Good buffs to the infantry with the veteran squad leaders, assault and hold, stormtroopers as well, quite nice to be cheeky and on the flanks. And the 251 half track is good that you can use for reinforcement on the front lines. And then also late game with the fragmentation bombs, as I previously stated, is an amazing ability. Doesn't really provide anything to support in terms of late game with your armor or countering armor late game, and that is why also it's not an S tier. Definitely really good for infantry early game, but again, late game doesn't really help too much against armor. Next up we have German Mechanized. I think this is also once again an A tier commander. Let's have a look at German Mechanized here. So again, the command tank and the 251 half track. The 251 half track again can act as that reinforcement right at the get-go. Vehicle critical repair is quite tasty as well. It's one of the only commanders I think that has vehicle critical repair on your vehicle, so you can remove those damage engine criticals, things like that for your vehicles, which is very nice. You've also got spotting scopes, and as I said with the Jagarama commander, it is one of the best abilities you can have for giving yourself vision in the game. So that's why it's, you know, I give it an A tier, because it's that ability alone is just so good. And also late game, you've got an LEFH if you want to use to bombard your opponents. So yeah, overall pretty good. Vehicle critical repair and spotting scopes, definitely bumping that up from a B tier to an A tier in my opinion. Those are two really good abilities. Next up, we're on to one of my all-time favorite commanders, a strategy that I personally developed, which was the overwhelming Strooping strategy. Here we go, the Strooping commander himself, and I am going to put him in S tier. Why is Strooping S tier? Because you can deploy Strooping right from the get-go. An amazing 6-man squad, decent when they're behind cover, and very cost-effective, cheap reinforcement costs as well. You can kind of swarm the map and get a lot of map control with the use of the Strooping. You've also got access to trenches, and building sandbags, barbed wire, with also 1 CP. Later on you get the artillery field officer, which can add bonuses to your troops, as well as you can go with the supply drop for 3 CPs also quite early in the game. You can get yourself an MG and a pack gun, so you don't have to go for tier 2 potentially, because you could just power drop in your own pack gun there. So it allows you maybe to go from tier 1 to tier 3 if you wanted to do so. So very nice. And then being able to recruit with Strooping, you know, it's cheap to reinforce those squads. So yeah, it's, you know, great way to save yourself maybe a lot of manpower there. And also late game, railway artillery support is a great above map ability, great against taking down enemies or forcing enemies off a specific point. So yeah, definitely Strooping, really good commander, great for 1v1s. Maybe less so for team games, because Strooping might not be able to be as effective there, as you know, the idea in 1v1 is because the numerous, they can cap a lot of territory, but in 4v4s the enemy also have lots of troops as well, and the maps are kind of maybe smaller, less points to cap, so the Strooping will be less effective in team games. But definitely a really good 1v1 commander, and it can do well in 2s as well. Maybe not choose this commander for 3s and 4s, but yeah, overall Strooping commander, very nice. On to the defensive commander. Now, where am I going to pop you? I personally think he is probably around about a B tier. We take a look at the defensive doctrine here. Again, you have the Strooping, as I previously stated, very good, but later on this commander kind of suffers. The Stuggy ain't that great. He has been given now smoke shells, which kind of increases utility, but it's just not really a good unit. It's like a really bad version of a Brumbar. The Pak 43 can easily get blown up by off-map artillery. sector artillery as well. Once the opponent realizes sector artillery has been dropped, they can just move away and avoid taking damage. So it's just a waste of munitions there. Defensive fortifications, pretty okay, being able to build concrete bunkers. But again, if it said you could build repair bunkers, maybe you could upgrade a med bunker out of the concrete bunker or something like that, it might make it more tasty of a commander to choose, but it doesn't. It's just literally MG bunkers you're going to get, and I'm not a massive fan of MG bunkers. They can just get, again, it's a static structure and it can easily get blown up. So yeah, there we go. Defensive community commander, B tier. Next up, we have elite troops. This commander used to be, when it first was introduced, used to be super OP with the Tiger Ace. Now I think it probably resides somewhere along the B tier class. So here we have elite troops. So Tiger Ace, late game, yes, it's good, but it's only one tank, and if it hits a mine, it's going to be in serious trouble, and it'll just die like any other tank. So, relying purely on the Tiger Ace is not great. Some decent abilities there. You got the Jaeger light infantry package, which is nice. The Panzer tactician as well. Stormtroopers can be quite nice, and though the model stun grenade, I don't rate the modern stun grenade very well. It's just stuns enemy infantry for a short amount of time, doesn't really do much damage. But yeah, I think it's a B tier, to be honest. Tiger Ace comes too late. And it's really expensive as well. And I much prefer, a Brumbar and a Panther over a Tiger Ace generally, because Brumbar is better against killing infantry. And, you've got 2 units out of kind of the same amount of resources that you spend for a Tiger Ace. So yeah, definitely, don't rate elite troops that highly, to be honest. Moving on, we have the Luftwaffe Commander. I'm probably going to place him in A tier. So the Luftwaffe Commander had some changes recently, which added the Luftwaffe Field Officer and gave it supply drop, as well as giving a brand new ability, which is the heavy bombing run. Also the airdrop medical supplies are really good, quite cheap, and they heal incredibly quickly. You only need to take 1 medkit out of the 3 that drop, and all the troops around the squad that picked it up will heal from that one crate. So it's a very quick heal, probably one of the best heals in the game. You can get it straight away as soon as you have munitions, because it's 0 CPs. Luftwaffe Field Officer has some nice abilities, can call on recon runs as well as strafing runs. The supply drop, as on the Strooping Commander, get the MG34 and a pack gun, which you can power drop in, so it allows you to be flexible with your tech. Could potentially skip tier 2 because you can get the pack gun from the supply drop. Sentry bombing strike, nice ability again against SimCity or forcing people away from certain areas. And then heavy bombing run also is a very good ability, taking SimCity and lots of units and denying an area, but it's super expensive. So I'm not a massive fan of it, because I think it's like 250 munitions or 200 munitions to use that ability. Too expensive for what it is. It's got a long time before it comes onto the field as well, so your enemy have got plenty of time to dodge it. So that's probably why it's an A tier rather than an S tier class. Also, another reason why I give it an A tier instead of an S tier is because it doesn't really give any benefits to Axis armor. Next up, we have the sorry state that is mobile defense, and I'm going to pop this in D, our first D ranking commander. Now, why is mobile defense rated D in my book? Back in the day when it first came out, the Panzer IV command tank and the Puma were call-in units, so you didn't need to tech for these. You just had to wait till you get CBs and you could call them in straight away. Now you need tech to be able to call them in, and they just lost this whole oomph. No point needing tech when you could just get yourself like a better Panzer IV or a Stug or something like that. And the other abilities aren't very good either. Counter-attack tactics, you capture vehicle, capture territory faster. Panzer Tactician, I guess, is okay. Mobile observation post, one of the weaker abilities there, not super good, but yeah, just not great. I mean, yeah, it's just a shit commander now. To be fair, it needed, I think it probably should have remained at least one of the, maybe the Puma as a call-in unit, just to maybe give it a reason why to play this commander. But there's no point choosing it now when you need to have the required tech. On to close air support. Where would I rank this? I'm going to rank this as a C tier commander. So close air support. Everything in this commander is with planes, and therefore all of these abilities, apart from the Stuku bombing strike, can be shot down by anti-aircraft. This commander gets hard countered by one anti-aircraft gun. That is why it's a C tier. It's not a D tier because it does have, the off-map abilities are pretty decent. The Ju-87 anti-tank strafe run and the Stuku bombing strike are quite nice abilities. The supply drop zone can help you get extra fuel quite quickly if you can get away with using it. But yeah, definitely no more than a C tier. And also because all these abilities cost a lot of munitions as well. Like, it's kind of pointless having, some of these, so heavy munition invested abilities without anything else to boost this commander off. If it maybe had like Fallschirm Jaegers or something like that, then maybe it might boost up to at least B, maybe even A tier. But yeah, I think it's definitely a C tier commander. Next up, we have the Encirclement Doctrine, the guy with the nice shades. Where am I going to pop him? I'm torn between B and C tier. I'm going to probably put him in B tier. So Encirclement Doctrine, Ambush Training, amazing. Love that ability. Again, that's why it's definitely a B tier and not C. Stormtroopers are an okay call-in squad that you can use behind enemy lines. The other abilities, though, not so much. You know, they don't really bring too much to the table. Like getting vehicles to cap territory is, you know, okay. Not, I'd much rather other abilities on there rather than that. And the Close the Pocket is such a hard ability to pull off. It is a really good ability if you can pull it off, but 9 times out of 10, it's just, you're never going to get it to work because you need to disconnect your opponent's territory, and then you need to keep the territory disconnected for a long enough time so the artillery can do its work. But yeah, you know, good players will probably have unit. You know, as soon as they recognise you've gone for Encirclement Doctrine, they'll make sure to cover their cutoff. So yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, if you can get away with it, it's kind of a meme commander with trying to get Close the Pocket. So if you want to be adventurous, you can try it, and it is very fun and satisfying to pull off Close the Pocket. But yeah, definitely not a 1v1 commander. More so for team games later on, and it's really only generally, you know, if you can try and pull off Close the Pocket. But yeah, that's why it is a B tier. Second to last, we have Strategic Reserves, and I'm going to pop him in the B tier. So here's Strategic Reserves. I think the Assault Grenadiers are nice to change up at the start of a game because they're good close quarters combat units. They're a 5-man squad which can upgrade to 6-man later on down the line. The Panzer IV Ostheer kind of lets down the commander a bit. I guess it's a better version of a Panzer IV, but you've already got, you know, you don't really want to be spending your resources into Panzer IVs, Ostheers if you're going to go for the Tiger tank anyway. You already want something cheaper that can be a stopgap until the Tiger Ace comes out. So yeah, maybe not a massive fan of the Panzer IV Ostheer ability there. Also, the mobile observation post isn't such a great ability. The breakthrough equipment is a nice ability to have, and also again late game Tiger Race is great. But yeah, the Panzer IV Ostheer and a mobile observation post let the commander down. Another reason, guys, why I don't like this commander is because it doesn't really have any off-map artillery abilities. No strafing runs, no bombing runs, nothing like that. It's just tank upgrades and what, you know, got a little bit of upgrade there with the infantry with breakthrough equipment, but apart from that, nothing else. So yeah, definitely B tier in my books. And finally, guys, we have Mechanized Assault Doctrine. Where am I going to pop this? I think it's going to be, for me, A tier, our last A tier commander. So here we have the Mechanized Assault Doctrine. Rate this an A tier because you've got the Great Assault Grenadiers, the Mechanized Assault Group as well, which can act as a reinforcement, half threat once it gets veterancy, and you can act as a clown car. You can put like maybe a flamethrower squad in there. They can go around and burn infantry. You can maybe upgrade some Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks and put them inside the thing as well. Maybe chase down a T-70. So you know, nice lot of utility there. You've got the Stug E as well to call on if you wanted to go for that as well as some kind of a unit to clear support weapons. Light artillery barrage, not super great. You know, we already discussed this earlier on. It's, you know, forces enemies to move away from a location. Doesn't really do too much damage, but you know, it's got at least one off-map artillery ability, which is why it bumps up from a B to an A tier. And then you late game Tiger tank if you want to call that in and on as well. So yeah, definitely A tier for that commander. So there you guys go. This is my commander tier list for the Ostheer for Company of Heroes 2. Maybe you liked it and you agreed with this. Maybe you disagree. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you did like this video, please do maybe subscribe to the channel as well. Would appreciate that. And I might even make some more of these tier lists for other commanders, for other factions, and maybe even for like infantry units, tanks as well, things like that. So please do let me know, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.